Holy Ghost, Batman by Amorloran. Chapter 5. The Initials. Stephanie paced the rooftop of the Wayne Enterprises building just after midnight, the cold Gotham wind sweeping her ponytail like a flag of frustration. The city pulsed below with distant sirens and flickering neon, but up here the chaos of the streets was muted by a single name that hadn't left her mind in 16 years. Danny. She'd met him, spoken to him, laughed with him, held his hand, and then she'd seen the note he carried with him his whole life. SB and TD. Tim's initials. Not Dean, not Alvin. She clenched the folded letter in her gloved fist and turned towards the skylight as a quick clink of metal echoed behind her. She didn't need to turn around. You signed the note, she said without preamble, her voice sharp. With your initials. Tim stepped forward, his red robin crown pushed back, exposing his domino mask and face to the moonlight. He looked tired but calm. I did. You told me we should say it was someone else, that it would be easy if no one knew the truth. I did, he said again, voice steady, but I also left the truth for him. Stephanie's fists trembled at her sides. Why? Why would you do that when we agreed on anonymity? On keeping him away from Dean, on Alvin Draper, the imaginary photograph major from Keystone. Tim exhaled slowly. Because I knew the moment I saw him. Steph froze. What? Tim looked out over the city, his voice soft but firm. At the hospital, they ran a parentage test at my request, since my initials was on the birth certificate. The results were in his file. Stephanie felt her knees weaken slightly, but she stayed standing. You knew all this time? He nodded. From the moment he was born. She stepped forward, eyes blazing. You knew, and you still let me go through it alone? You let me believe You let me believe I had to carry that burden by myself. Tim met her eyes. Because it was your choice, and I respected it. Stephanie shook her head, heart hammering. You were the father, Tim. That wasn't just my decision. Yes, it was, Tim said, his voice rising slightly. Because you carried him. You gave birth to him, and you were the one who would have given up everything. Your future, your safety, your sanity, if you'd kept him. I was barely 18, and already an obsession on half of the Leaguer's watch list. You were barely younger and had Intergang breathing down your neck every time you left our rooftop. How are we ever going to give him a normal life? Stephanie opened her mouth, but the argument dissolved on her tongue. We don't live lives where babies are safe, Steph. Tim continued. We don't get school pickup lines and T-ball games. We get knife wounds and mission logs. And 30 seconds of sleep between patrols. She turned away, trying to hide the tears. She hated showing him. But you still signed it. You still left your name. I had to, Tim said softly, because if he ever did look, I wanted him to know the truth. That his father didn't walk away. That Dean didn't leave him on a whim. That I saw him. That I chose to let him live. Stephanie looked over her shoulder. You could have picked him up any time you wanted to. I thought about it every day, Tim said. But if I showed up, what then? Pull him out of a stable family to raise him in a clock tower bunker with target practice and alias drills? You and I, we weren't built to be parents back then. Hell, we are barely surviving now. Silence stretched between them, heavy with years of unspoken grief. I hated you for a while, Stephanie whispered, for not saying anything. Even when I thought you didn't know. Tim's jaw tightened. I hated myself more. A gust of wind whipped past, and Stephanie looked down at the crumpled letter in her hand. You gave him the truth, she said, even if it wasn't everything. Tim looked at her gently. You gave him life. You did the hardest part. I just made sure he could find us, if he ever wanted to. She nodded slowly, stepping towards him. He did want to. He reached out. Tim's breath caught. You met him? She nodded. Springfield, Diary Queen. He was nervous, sweet, smarter than me, quieter than you. She handed him a small manila envelope, the kind one uses for small bits of evidence. Stephanie turned fully, eyes glassy but calm. He's a good kid. Weird sense of humor, carries the weight of the world without telling anyone how much it hurts. Tim smiled faintly. He slid the envelope into his belt. A DNA test would confirm his identity. Wonder where he got that from. A flicker of emotion passed through Tim's eyes. Is he okay? He's more than okay, Stephanie said, voice cracking with pride. He's a good person, Tim. Not just decent, good, like salt of the earth good. Tim blinked, and when he looked up again, she saw the tears in his eyes, too. I'd like to meet him, he said quietly. Stephanie smiled through the ache in her chest. He might want that. They stood in silence on the rooftop, the wind carrying old guilt and new hope between them, like a thread pulled together. I'm glad you signed it, she finally said. I'm glad he kept it, he replied, and somewhere beneath the hurt something started to mend.